Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another exciting Minecraft discussion back here in the woods. I'm at the notch with little Giovanni. There he is right there. You can see him trotting close to me. We just had to navigate that, which was loads of fun, because I love it when there's a nice, challenge to the walk. Right, G? Totally. Okay. My name is Kimberly Quinn. I forget if I just said that. I forget that a lot because my head's in what we're talking about. And there's little G. And we're out here, not early, but not as early as usual. So, anyway, it's a good day. It's always a good day back here. And so, in the woods, of course. So here's the thing. We were talking about letting go in the last video. And there's so much more to that. And I think, I don't know if people, of course you don't know anything unless you ask them, right? But just being out in the world, if a lot of people get how bad for you it is to hang on to stuff. We think about the obvious things like junk food. We know it's not a good idea to drink a lot of soda. We do it anyway. Or a lot of caffeine, or a lot of alcohol, or a lot of whatever it is. And we may know that a certain person isn't really great to have in our lives, whether that's romantic or not. Maybe that, it doesn't have to be super deep even. Maybe they're just such, a negative Nelly, and it's just hard to be around them. It doesn't mean cut them loose forever, but spend less time maybe. But we make all these decisions though about, like that we know junk food is bad. We know in moderation, glass of wine with dinner is fine. Too much, not so good. But we know this stuff, yet we don't really control the mind diet as much. And that's a bigger conversation. I actually did a whole video on the mind diet. It's a bigger conversation because that involves this is part of it though, which is why I'm going there in the first place. But we don't realize, trim out the soda, trim out too much caffeine, trim out the alcohol. And then there's things to add, like walking in the woods, right? Or if the gym is your thing, whatever. But we don't really think about the component, the let go component, the let it go component to our well-being, because it's huge. It's so huge. And just by listening out in the world, it seems like a lot of people don't really get that the heaviness that comes along with hanging on to old crap. Wayne Dyer talks about it a lot, about, cleaning out the junk. He says cleaning out the junk out of your head because, stuff that's happened last week, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, depending on where you are along your life's journey. To hang on to that stuff means you didn't just live it once, you're living it over and over and over again. And this kind of corrupting the present life, your present life minutes with battery acid, just, dumping or lighting a match to your life minutes, it's just, excuse me, so bad for our well-being. And so we talked about that last time, that one of the big reasons. By the way, I don't have snowshoes on today because the snow left, but it'll be back. Anyway, that's why you don't hear the crunch crunch. I'm walking. So we talked about last time about probably the biggest blocker to letting it go. We're talking about forgiveness, even though we're talking about it in a secular way, not in a religious way. Though if you want to make it that's totally fine. Incorporate, work that right into your belief system. It makes it stronger. The biggest blocker, I think, is that people tend to hang on because they think and feel, because they go together, right? Like it gives them power, because they think that if they let go, it gives that, the wrongdoer, the one who hurt their feelings, or let's even say offender, if it were something, not just a verbal offense, and I don't mean just, because those can be, I know all too well what emotional abuse can do to you, for sure. But the offender that, did something huge, like, anyone in the child abuse sort of arena, and that can be tougher, obviously, tougher to let go of. But sometimes, because I've heard it from my students, what happened to me was unforgivable, and they don't get into the deets in class because we keep it, from that. But they're implying, and they say the word trauma a lot, actually. The Gen Zs use the word trauma a lot, at least my Gen Zs. And so that can mean a lot of things because they use it so frequently. I think it means middle to also huge. But anyway, that's not for me to judge, so we just go with it. But they talk about things that you just can't let go of, and you can let go of anything. Because I think what they don't understand is, and not just the Gen Zers, for sure, that's all of us. That's ageless. Hanging on to stuff is ageless. That we think that somehow it gives them a pass. It gives the herder of feelings, the perpetrator, the offender, that it gives them a pass. And no, it does not. And we talked about it last time too, that Claudia Black, she's who did it for me way back when I was 18 years old at St. Mike's. She is a pioneer, was, and I think continues to be. She's getting up there in age, so I'm not sure where we're at with that, but for like decades, she was a pioneer for adult children of alcoholics movement. And in that auditorium, it was standing room only, she brought up the whole forgiveness thing, and you could have heard a pin drop in Kansas, let me tell you. Because she said, the whole thing, the old cliche of to forgive is to forget, forgiving is forgetting, that implies that you got to put the relationship back together. Well, obviously that doesn't work if you were molested by your sick and twisted uncle at 5 years old. Most people would agree that repairing that relationship is not in your best interest. And that's an extreme example, but that's a good one. Also, they're not always repairable because the person might be out of the country. The person may just not care, which is the most frequent one. They could be in jail for what they did or something else, and they could also be dead. So waiting around for an apology, waiting around for an apology is not something we want to do because you're probably not going to get it. Certainly if they're dead, you're not going to get it. Oh, wow, this is exquisite. This is the second beaver pond. We climbed over that fallen tree. Don't go near the ice, G. Don't go near the ice. So look at that, huh? Talk about refreshing and rejuvenating. It's just gorgeous. So the thing is, we don't want to hang out for apology because that puts the control in somebody else's hands. Even if those hands aren't here on this earth still, it's putting the control for our happiness, our inner peace, our joy, our healing, with somebody else. And no, it's not enough that they took what they took when they took it, right? We need to take that control back. And how we do that is letting it go. Actually, you've taken enough from me. You're done now, dead or alive, doesn't matter. You've taken enough from me, and this is the gift I'm giving back to myself because I'm choosing to move forward. And the other thing is the part, that remembering part, because the brain doesn't work that way. From a cognitive psychological standpoint, anybody who's gone through trauma knows that. Because, when you've gone through something big and huge, the brain does the opposite of releasing it. It's just kind of haunts us, right? So, the brain doesn't work like a computer in that sense. And so that forgetting thing is just like a really bad rumor or myth or something. So we have to, really kind of choose to move forward. And that goes into the other thing with sort of it's related, where people often, in addition to not wanting to give the person a pass, which again they're not getting, because what they did is what they did and they'll have to deal with that, eventually do whatever your belief system is. But that people often wait for the heavens to part, for the forgiveness fairy to just descend upon them, maybe in their sleep, and just sprinkle forgiveness pixie dust on their heads or something. And that's kind of also a thing that prevents people from letting stuff go and living their best life. Because if you wait to be ready, it may never happen. And meanwhile, life is in session. Now, obviously, there are, there's a whole spectrum, because life does not happen in here and there, right? This is the whole middle. So, if somebody were assaulted, this morning, it may not be a situation of let it go by noon, right? However, to just, it's a 6 months later, it's a year later. And I'm not deciding anybody's timeline. That's not my place. That's going to be individual. Though when we put it on the back burner, Giovanni, come here. I don't want him by the pond where I can't see him. Come on, Giovanni, come on. Let's go. Here he comes. Full throttle speed dogs. Where is he? Come on, G. No, he's over there. Okay, so the thing is, when we just kind of wait around to be ready, it may never happen. So we really do have to draw a line in the sand of I'm done with that. And it may not be comfortable. And I think that some people, because I've had so many conversations about this over the years, wait for that just like I'm ready thing. And that just, especially the bigger the thing is, the less apt that is to happen. So And then lastly, people I think also don't realize, okay, there's a positive and negative way to look at this, right? So the negative way, we'll start with that first, is I don't think, like from a well-being standpoint, like what we were just talking about, when people don't forgive, it takes up a ton of mental space. So if you're thinking about having a new relationship, or you're in a really good relationship, and you want it to be better, or you want to, maybe you're doing mostly fine, and you just want to, but something's missing, you're not feeling super fulfilled. Well, a good part of the reason for that, and that can be a lot of other things in addition to, but you don't have the space. It's kind of like a computer. When you think, the little bar goes all the way to here and you've got this much to use. That's how it is when you're hanging on to stuff. So you've got that little itty bitty sliver of space to live your life with. And that's, to me, it's just tragic. Absolutely tragic. And you clear out the junk, the bar just goes back. It's just like when you do a cleanse on your computer and get rid of all the old stuff. All of a sudden the bar comes back to here and you've got all that space to live your best life with. So really, the let it go thing, if you don't like the word forgiveness, just say let it go, or come up with something. Delete, maybe, something like that. And I guess you can't really use delete, because that would insinuate or imply that the memory goes too. We just established that whole thing. So just say let it go, because that person, whoever, no matter who they are in your life, no matter what their role, their mother, their father, it doesn't matter. Now, don't get me going on that, because, I had a lot of stuff I had to let go, and it was really hard. It was hard for a while because it feels like, that hurt and that anger and stuff are so familiar to you. But the brain loves patterns, right? So we talked about that. The more you allow those thoughts, the more the brain gets used to the hurt and the anger. And the anger provides this illusion of power, which is an illusion. It actually does the opposite. It takes away our power. So anyway, especially... this is, the forgiveness thing is something to talk about, or talk about and do and work into your life every single day. It seems like during the holiday season, it just kind of surfaces a bit more. But really, it's for every day, because forgiveness and letting it go is not about anybody but us. It's a gift we give ourselves. And remember that if you're struggling, dig deeply and think about the self-value going on, the worthiness feeling. And do a check-in with that, because the reality is we cannot take care of ourselves we don't value. And forgiveness has everything to do with taking care of ourselves and loving ourselves and being compassionate with ourselves, valuing ourselves. And so there you go. Let go of as much as possible. This is Kimberly Quinn and Little Giovanni signing off from the gorgeous, very chilly Notch in northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.